front of me.
Oh, oops, that's recorded forever. Hello, everyone. I'm Payman Ascari. Welcome to this episode of Cerberus at the Improv. The guy that rudely interrupted me to my left is Mr. Timothy Knight. Tim, how's it going?
So rude. So rude. It's good. It's good. It's kind of, maybe.
It's Friday.
I'll get back to you. Today is the episode of interrupting.
May I continue?
I won't be again honest.
Andre, how are you doing?
I'm fine as long as there's no power failure, the interruption. 5 days before Christmas, so let's make it joyful.
That's going to be a cheerful episode.
Great.
We'll try.
So Cerberus at the Improv. It's a new show. We're trying to bring some civility to Canadian discourse, keep it Canadian wherever it's possible, and where better to start than the recent cabinet shuffle that Trudeau was forced to initiate. So I'm going to bring this up, and I don't know, Tim, you're our resident brainy. Why don't you tell us what's going on?
We are sunk if you rely on my intellectual prowess. I think the last 2 or so days since Christy Phelan got told to take her long walk in the snow, that when he being Justin Trudeau pulled out of the limelight and canceled all his events for the remainder of the year, etc. I think he and his handlers or his associates said we need to do some management here, and went in and basically realigned a fair portion of his cabinet and the ministers, partially as a distraction and partially as a means of appeasing the louder voices that might make noise about Freeland's sudden departure. So I think this is more about damage control than putting the right people in the right place. And you notice from the names of some of these ministries, some of these are ministry of apple and banana. Well, they're not related. Or ministry of banana and mountainside. I mean, these are subject matter that are not even remotely related to each other. Rachel Vendayan, yes, Minister of Official Languages and Associate Minister of Public Safety. In what way are official languages and public safety related, unless you're writing a Newspeak dictionary? Like it's these things are, well, and some of these
Punjabi
portfolios have been nonsense since 2015.
Public safety with Punjabi as a third official language.
Or Mandarin.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So the question is now is, in 2025, will these ministries begin to pander to the quote unquote replacement Canadians?
Can I ask, I'm going to make some observations, some simple questions. A Minister of Official Languages and Associate Minister of Public Safety. Does that mean she has a responsibility in 2 different ministries?
That's correct.
Is this a matter they just don't have enough staff?
Oh, they have 100% more staff than they did in 2015.
Sorry.
So it's not a question, right? Yeah, it's not a question. Maybe it's a question of capable staff.
Well, no, because none of them are capable. But my question is, like, have they gone through the entire Liberal Party and they've beyond scratched the bottom of the barrel?
Did you check your email? Maybe they sent you an email to try to go and to run for the Liberal and have a ministry.
You know, as an act of desperation, I mean, as long as the check doesn't bounce, give me a call. Let's talk.
Right. Exactly, but you know, well, they will freeze your bank account after writing the check. Right. Ministry of Official Languages and Associate Minister of Public Safety.
That's right.
So 2 responsibilities, 2 salary or a prime.
That's an interesting question.
Well, they do have, you know, when they participate in committees, they have more money, more expense. Yeah. So
that's true.
The more your title is long, the more your salary is high. Right. And without the responsibility, because there's no accountability.
Yeah. Terry Duguid, Minister of Sport and Minister responsible for Prairies Economic Development Canada. Sport and
economic development.
I'm going to forget the word. Canola oil. Prairies Economic Development, right? Canola fields. This is not. These are two things that are not related. Wow, that's painful.
Well,
Nate Erskine Smith, housing, infrastructure, and communities. So they have a federal ministry whose sole purpose is to interfere with something that is actually supposed to be, according to the Constitution, the sole authority and jurisdiction of the provinces.
Yeah, but I'd like to point out that there is a Ministry of Health, which is also a provincial jurisdiction.
Which is also the sole purview of the provinces, yes.
You know, when you look at David G. McGuinty, Minister of Public Safety, and you have Rachel Bendayan, who is Associate Minister of Public Safety. Is it because one is taking vacation and the other one is taking his or her place? You know,
I think
why they need an Associate Minister of Public Safety?
How many others are named as an Associate Minister of some other ministry? Is she the only one?
I don't know, but
if we're going to go down this road, can we turn
this another one?
We can make a drinking game out of this.
Yeah, there's two. Yeah.
Well,
National Defense.
Timothy, you were mentioning the reshuffling the card.
Yes.
First of all, the castle of card just completely collapsed, and now and Trudeau, the Joker, doesn't know how to dealing in poker. It's a poker game now. Who will win? Who will, like you said, backstage, they have only one ace and they don't know how to play it.
That's right. They're the one ace, and they're going to push it into every conversation, hoping it matters.
You can look at CBC or Radio Canada article every time you have an event, weather event, you will have the expression climate change everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. So this is.
That lunatic.
When we look at this list, what comes to my mind is the cultural reference.
How many ministers?
These are the existing ones. You guys go ahead.
There's a lot.
Yeah. What runs in my head is these are not the ministers you're looking for. Right. That's you mentioned that this is basically the bottom of the barrel when the Liberal Party is scraping to maintain relevance, when it's clear that next year the blue wave will be a tsunami. And so this is, this is the cat scratching at the gunnels while it's being washed off the deck of the ship from the blue wave.
Not familiar with that reference, but Andre,
if Paul Revere gives me a call, I might let him have copyright for the right price.
Maybe I would like to point one thing about what is happening. There's a lot of members of parliament in the Liberal Party that are asking Trudeau to resign, and more every day. And he decided to not prorogue the parliament, but to shut down the debate for 7 weeks. And Jagmeet Singh, Mr. Maserati Singh, said that he would bring down the government now. Now I think Poilievre asked the Governor General to call back in emergency the House so they can propose a non-confident vote. It is what? We will have a Christmas gift. It will fall down before the 25th because Trudeau will never resign.
If an election is called to take place in January or February, there will be a historically low turnout nationwide.
Oh, you mean in terms of voting?
A voting turnout, because you have Canadians who are on all sides of the table. Canadians who just want to have the season and to get it and to get through it. They're spending through their credit card balance in order to maintain some sense of the lifestyle they used to have in Christmases previous. So then you hit the January fatigue, right? When your credit card is capped and you've gone to 12 family members you never really liked anyway, and you're emotionally tapped out, and you're just fatigued from all the events of the winter season. And then to add an election on top of that, how many candidates are going to be able to have people show up at their events? They're just not. How many people are going to get who are going to receive donations and re-up their memberships, or who's going to be able to do that in January, February? It's not possible. Well, it's possible, but an extraordinarily low response.
Yes, but imagine if they bring down the government at the end of January or just after the pension of Jack Singh. Would be more correct. It would be a campaign in February or March,
Yes. Yes.
and it would be what an instant campaign or a very short campaign,
Yes.
4
Yes.
weeks, and we would arrive in April. It's supposed to be a budget in April or March, I think.
March 8th, usually, like first Tuesday, second Tuesday in March.
Exactly. So you can
Yeah.
imagine what would happen after that.
Can
There are election also in Germany. We saw what happened in Romania, in Georgia. Now they're talking. There's a petition in France, and they're starting to talk about impeaching Macron. And it starts to be serious. Von der Leyen is attacked by Thierry Breton, who was the European Union member of Parliament. Now he was with Ursula von der Leyen, and he's attacking her now on the email that she didn't want to make public about the Pfizer contract with her husband that was on the board of director of Pfizer. So you see events everywhere. Imagine you would have a general election in March in Canada, and just after Trump arrives in power.
I just wanted to realign it with these appointments. They have to be MPs, right? The cabinet ministers can't be citizens.
No, they can't. They can't.
They can't.
Cabinet ministers must be an elected representative of a constituency.
Well, I saw that in 2006, and it was during the Harper government, and he was his name was Fortier. I don't remember his first name, and he was named minister, but he was not elected.
Okay, but my question
that's not common, but it can happen.
No, like what happens if his entire party revolts and they're like, we refuse to take any of these cabinet positions? Does the government just shut down?
I don't think any liberal member of parliament or high-level bureaucrat would say no to that kind of money, even if it's only for a couple of months.
Well, if it has an impact on your pension, of course.
All right, let me rephrase the question then. What happens when Trudeau has shuffled through his entire party? Does he just start from the beginning again? Does he bring Chrystia Freeland back?
You can bring people from the dead. Of course,
he won't shuffle it anymore.
You know what a great time in March to have a general election that would be organized by AI.
Oh my God!
No, but think about it. It is a possibility.
It can't be worse than this.
Skynet.
Well, we had Freeland, and now they're talking about Mélanie Joly to replace Mélanie Joly. She's starting to think that maybe she will run the Liberal Party as a leader.
Like, what do these guys really do? Like, if we got rid of 90% of them, who was the guy that was the Minister of Sport? Like, what happened if we just abolished that ministry? People can still kick a ball.
Well, they can't abolish that Ministry of Sport because because Canadian sport and the government involvement through grants and advertising and whatnot is a really good angle for them to shove their DEI down everybody's throat through sport.
DEI, sport education.
Yeah, right. So the government grants and other supports that a lot of amateur sport across Canada require, particularly those leading up to, our Canadian Olympic team. This is a way to very easily cram DEI policies down the throat of amateur sport because it is an attachment. It's attached to the grant and support programs. So the Minister of Support, that job will never be done. Because at least as far as a Marxist approach to government is concerned, because this is an easy way to get into the public, and you'll start with children. And I get
what you're saying, Tim. I'm just making it like a common sense argument. Like the Ministry of Housing, if we got rid of that, we could still build houses.
That's correct, because then you'd go back to permitting the free market, stepping out of the way of the free market. So why are they messing around with housing? makes me wonder if, other than the whole Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2050 policies, but I'm also thinking, are they messing with housing because they've taken so many pensioners' money from CPP and thrown it into mutuals that have a high amount of housing involved? So
Well,
if I can control the market through the money that I'm moving in as a government, and control the market through policy, I should be able to do this and then pocket the difference, shouldn't I?
Well, now they don't control the market. On the real estate market, we are facing stagflation. The
Right.
number of houses, the prices of houses is growing, but the
Mhm.
houses are not sold
Right.
because people don't have money to buy, and you don't have any speculation anymore. That's the first thing. Then you talk about the number of minister, or why do we have a minister of housing? The bureaucracy is monstrous. The only
Yeah.
way a system that is Marxist system or a socialist or communist system, the only way it changes is through a revolution or a complete collapse.
Right.
And usually the leader never leaves his place. He's
Right.
there, and he cannot be challenged even with his own, I would say, own troops. So
Right.
Trudeau is there. He's complete. He's a lunatic. Everybody knows that. No, I'm sorry. I don't have any respect for this man at all.
Yeah.
For the position of prime minister, yes, but not for the man. I'm sorry. His closet is full of skeleton, and we know, everybody knows it's the king is nude, but nobody wants to say it, and he will not leave. He will be pushed out.
Yeah.
How? I don't know, but it will arrive. And when it will arrive, we will go to another step into, I would say, social conflict. We see it now. We see violence and crime going everywhere. That's the sign of a society that is collapsing on its own contradiction. And it is not new in history. It's always like that. Which country will collapse first? Germany, Canada, France, it is the deficit and the debt is monstrous, and they're trying to they talk about impeaching Macron. Macron still has 3 years in his mandate, but if they are able to do that, it will change the political face of the actual political face. Schulz is in danger in Germany because the alternative for Deutschland is rising in the polls. Why it would not happen here? The government showed its face during the COVID, during the pandemic, what I don't call a pandemic. Now people are waking up. Maybe it's only 15%, 20%, but you don't need a lot of people to stop a government. Completely stop a government. If people, 15 or 20% of the population are mobilized, they will be in deep problem. And that reshuffling the cabinet will not change nothing. Like Timothy said, the purple wave, the blue wave will just finish the job. Then after that, with Poilievre in power, I'm not sure that Canada will be saved at all.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think Poilievre has the stomach or even the desire to go in and change some of these BS ministries, like the Ministry of Climate Change? I don't know. There's a couple of other ones. I'll go through.
Climate change, no, because he said that he would not revoke the Paris Agreement. Forget about climate change.
What I think is that he
Same
will.
thing with
Here, Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Youth.
Do
we need a ministry to be good people?
Apparently, because you have unacceptable views.
Oh, what about this? I'm sorry, I'm capitalizing on this.
Yeah.
How is this different? Ministry of
DEI,
Diversity,
That's DEI.
Yeah, but like this is kind of DEI and this is DEI.
Yeah.
We got two DEIs.
Yeah. So these are marketing departments.
Well, you have according to LGBTQ 2 plus S, you have 186 genders. So why you would not have 186? If you don't have 186 minister, this will be racist.
Intersectionalism.
Where?
Yes, exactly.
Intersectionalism. So this is an example of what happens when you bureaucratize the concept of intersectionalism.
Tim, come on, man! Don't give him any ideas. They will come up with that ministry.
See, one of these days, someone will pay me. Minister of Tourism, Economic Development Agency. Regions of Quebec. That should make somebody happy. Minister of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship.
It's not me.
It's not you.
No, when you listen to a press conference of a minister, it is boring, stupid, and you learn nothing. It's just to trigger or to entertain people.
Yeah.
Those people are not serious. And that's what happened when they live in the parallel universe. When you were looking at the Bolshevik after the putsch, because I don't consider the 1917 revolution a revolution. After the putsch, they were so incompetent and stupid that they destroyed Russia. And when they started to increase the power of Soviet Union, Stalin in 1935, he had to change the policies toward abortion because they were destroying the country.
Right.
And what you're seeing now, they destroy the country. They are either incompetent or evil, and they will not leave power. They will be kicked out. I don't know how, but they will be kicked out.
Yeah, and what Paul Revere will do is he will take these ministries whose underlying policies and bureaucratic process and mandates will remain. He will change the paint.
Change the paint. Exactly. You do a paint job.
Or he'll use more moderate language. It'll be less obviously DEI. It'll be more newspeak, and his supporters will accept that. But
yes.
Underneath, it'll be the same. It'll be the same poison.
What about the CBC, Tim? Do you think that he's going to, instead of defunding the CBC, he'll bring something like Rebel News in? Because it's just so tempting.
It's already
Rebel News,
already managed to get Rebel News, True North, Keen Bext, Spencer Fernando, right? He's already managed to, right? Yeah, he's already managed to pick these up. Clyde Do Something, like a lot of these upstart independent agencies that especially came to the forefront during the COVID mandates.
Or maybe Cerberus at the Improv.
If there's enough money in it, I'm open to a conversation. Right?
We want at least $100 each.
Right? At least $100
per
each.
year. Per year.
Yeah. That's right. Per annum and tax free.
Pegged to inflation. Yeah.
What about now that
that
king? I'm sorry, Tim, you're not a king yet.
I'm not king
what about our beloved leader, Canadian leader? What about the tax credit that he gave, or the $250 that he was supposed?
That tax credit was not offered to be in place until April. And less than 3 days afterwards, it was pulled.
So I can tomorrow. I can promise whatever I want. It doesn't change nothing. It's just to lose people.
It's now they can make promises during during the time they occupy the chair, not just during an election campaign, and get away with it.
And imagine Poilievre arrived in power and says, "Sorry, I cannot fulfill all the promise that I have because the Liberal made such a mess that."
That's right. We inherited a mess.
I'm
sorry, but for the first 4 years, we're going to have to run a 25% deficit every year for the first 4 years, and then after you elect us the second time, then for sure we'll fix it. Better, it'll work this time.
25% deficit.
Well, what's the deficit right now? 60 billion.
61.
61.
And the year is not finished. I can
right, and then just increase the deficit every year by an additional 25%,
especially
year over year, right? Because everybody else got Marxism wrong 15 times, but we'll do it right.
Yes, exactly. Another time.
The problem, the solution seems so trivial to me. Just bring Elon Musk in with a sink goes in, gets rid of 80% of the
Yes.
government.
Yes.
I prefer we had a Canadian.
With
I don't know.
who?
What about that guy that's getting hit with the back sexual assault charges? Stronach, Frank Stronach, get that billionaire in.
But that's Stronach clan, right? That's
Okay.
that's Stronach clan.
Yes,
They're attached to the Laurentians.
All right. I don't know. Who do we
They're
have
like
that's rich and not
Ontario.
compromised? Jim Pattison?
And absolutely not Kevin O'Leary.
Who's not compromised?
Wow, Kevin O'Leary's
that's a philosophical question. Who's not compromised? Because when we look at
who's not compromised? Well, I'm not compromised yet.
No, you don't do compromise.
Look at it this way.
Yeah.
Who's rich and they've tried to throw in jail? That's who you want to go after.
Who's rich? They tried to throw in jail.
Well, except for Frank Stronach.
If I think about the National Assembly in Quebec, I would see 125 MLA on 125 that would be thrown in jail.
Oh no, I mean like somebody who's rich who criticized the government and they use lawfare against them.
It does not exist.
That's
as soon as you're part of the club.
Yeah.
You cannot criticize. When you go inside, they cut your balls. Sorry.
So that's the investment, right? I want to be part of the club. I sacrifice my testosterone, and in return, they give me money, power, dancing girls, free cigarettes,
and surgery for a reaffirmation surgery.
And that's right.
I guess we're winding down. This might be the last episode of the year. For the love of God, let's try to keep it to 1 hour. So let's move on. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced the appointment of Wendy Lizogar Kochia as the new Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia. Every time I hear governor in the context of our system of government, I'm like, this sucks. But I don't know. Is this really newsworthy?
Well, I have another news about BC that you didn't see. That is a city in BC. I don't remember I think it's Kamloops or something like that. The municipal council asked to remove how do you say this, crèche en anglais for Jesus and
cross.
No,
cross.
Not the cross. Under the tree you have the small house where stables.
The nativity scene.
Nativity scene, and they asked to remove the nativity scene because they said
the word creche.
They said it is racist and it is discrimination. It is discriminatory. And
I want
nobody reacts.
Yeah.
Nobody reacts.
I want to counter that right away, saying that it's racist because when I was a child, my baby sister was not even 2, and back in Newfoundland on the coast, we had wood oil stoves, and sometimes you would open the stove in the winter, open the door to heat up the house. And so we're prepping for Christmas dinner one night, and the oven door is open and the house is warm, and we're puttering around doing our thing, and just before we settle down to go to bed, Mom goes back to the creche because we were Catholic, and looks and says, "Where's baby Jesus?" Because it was a little tiny model, little ceramic set.
Exactly.
A little tiny baby Jesus, and you put him into the oh, now I forgot the word. The trough, right?
Yeah.
You put him into that, but he wasn't there. So we're looking around the tree and looking at the ground, maybe thinking that the dog or the cat got to it, and finally we're asking my little sister, have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? She goes back to the oven and pulls little baby Jesus out of the oven. Well, why did you do that? Because it was cold and I wanted him to be warm. But it had the heat scorched the paint. So we were the first Newfoundlanders to have a brown baby Jesus.
You were ahead of your time. Yeah.
No, but the idea why I mentioned this small event, it's because it's a symbol of the attack on our Christian civilization.
Yeah.
And when we look at the government now, and you were talking, Timothy, we're talking about Pierre Poilievre, the Bill C4.
Yeah.
Poilievre voted for it.
Yeah, they all
He
did.
voted for many
Unanimous.
and he voted for many laws that were, or bill of law that were presented by the Liberal. So I'm sorry if he goes back to all those ministry. Will he change them? I agree with Timothy. He will just change the paint, but the bureaucracy will stay there. But first of all, he will not be able to do it in 4 years. You cannot untangle something that was put in place maybe for 25 years. And maybe more, because the Conservative under Harper,
I'll add to that.
They signed the World Economic Forum agreement in 2014.
This is their baby.
10 years ago.
This is their baby. Why would they euthanize their own baby?
Exactly.
I'd say it's more than just that it's been 25 years in the making. If you don't have public support behind this, they're not going to, leadership isn't going to change it unless the people step up and they say, you must get rid of 80% of the ministries. They're not going to do it.
Who will do that?
So then in some ways,
you will, but you will have 5-10% of the power. Don't forget that the bureaucracy is very heavy now, and there's a lot of people who are benefiting from this bureaucracy, and they will not go against the system because it will jeopardize their self-interest.
About 10 million adults employed in Canada, working ages of like old enough to get your SIN card to about 65. About 10 million Canadians, a full third of them are in bureaucratic roles.
Exactly, and you cannot untangle that
not in one generation.
No,
I'm gonna unveil my grand strategy. If there's any populist parties out there or grassroots parties listening, if you make it an us versus them sort of thing. So we were talking about these useless ministries. These ministries aren't going to farmers. They're not going to electricians. They're going to the people that went to university, got useless basket weaving degrees, or MBAs or arts degrees, all these fine arts degrees. It's a job creation. Yeah, it's a job It's a job creation program that takes money people from producers, electricians, builders, developers, I don't know, farmers, and gives it to these useless eaters.
Baristas.
It is intentional. Huh? It is intentional.
This is
they don't hide it.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't understand that we are on a socialist, a very hard socialist target, and they don't see it, but they start to feel it.
Yeah.
The academic class versus the working class.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
It's a war. It's a class between war.
The academic class.
Warren Buffett, it was in 2016 or 17 when he said, "My class, it's a war, class of war of class, and my class is winning."
Right.
And he was saying that he was paying less taxes than his secretary.
Yeah. Should we call in the new year by watching Justin Trudeau swear in all the new cabinet ministers?
Absolutely not.
That will be painful.
Although it might be worth keeping for when we need a room 101 therapy session, right?
He said that he canceled all his interview.
Yes.
And he will go in vacation, I suppose. Yes. Again on tax money on
that's correct.
Public money. So again, and he was pretending not so long ago that he was working so hard, and he was the Canadian that was working the most hardest Canadian. And this man is a lunatic.
I think McLean's
He's not. I'm not happy about having this lunatic in power. The system is completely dysfunctional. Not even dysfunctional. It's starting to be. It's starting to look like. I wrote an article, the Canadian Perestroika. My wife, she recognized that. Yeah. She recognized the sign, and now more and more of our friends that come from East European country, they recognize it. Yeah. They recognize the pattern.
I'm going to say the word wrong. I'm going to say the word wrong. Is it the Donbass?
The Donbass.
Is that right? So that was the interim government that the Russian royalty and the Tsar were trying to sort out. but
Well,
because the Russian was, it's not the Donbass, is it? It's a different word. But there was an attempt at a parliamentary style government.
you mean
Oh,
during
the Duma, the Duma.
the Duma?
Thank you. Yeah,
No,
I
the
knew I had
Duma,
I
the
knew I
Duma,
had
the
it right.
Duma, the Duma is the
Right.
government. It's the parliament.
Right. So, but
State
it was
Duma.
especially unstable.
Donbass.
No, I didn't. No, I wasn't saying dumbass.
Not the Donbass region.
I got my
No,
own.
Donbass is the region
Yeah, no, I'm
in
messing
Ukraine.
up geography and politics. I would never do such a thing. So, but they go back at history and find the corollary to where our government is exactly this month, right? So, because this month is a microcosm of what's been happening this fall, and we'll reach forward into how it unfolds into early next year. So, and because we don't have a lot of information about what happened in Chinese governments during the change, right? We don't have a whole lot of information about that. But what we do have is we have Russian information about the conflict between the Russian nobility and the House Romanov, and the Lenin type characters, because he wasn't the only one at that time, and the serfs themselves. So where is Canada politically on that timeline, right? Where are we on that timeline? And I think if Trudeau can't maintain a semblance of authority, what will happen on the street next.
Exactly. That's what I refer to all the time. Yeah. Since many years, I say to people, read Mikhail Bulgakov, who wrote the White Guard, 1915, 1916, 1917, during the civil war in Ukraine. And I can guarantee you, if the government continues like this, and it's at the municipal level, at the provincial level, and at the federal level. Last week in Montreal, they kicked out somebody who asked a question to the mayor of Montreal, and they called the police. And they did, and now it is. You see Olivia Chow in Toronto. She does the same thing. It's the same thing in the. There was a man who could not even go to the parliament because he was waving a Canadian flag about a couple of months ago, and he was arrested by the police. And they say you cannot go.
Hate speech.
Yeah, well, how many times has David Menzies gotten himself beaten up and arrested by the police?
So exactly. So when you see this, you understand that all countries, they are on the verge of a big political change. What it will be, I don't know. But I say to people, be careful, because when you are in an unstable time, you can have a lot of events that would all unfold very rapidly. And people can be destabilized.
Yeah, and I hate to say it. Yeah, and I hate to say it out loud, but this is the exact segue into that video that happened of the event in Germany, and I only just saw it a few minutes ago, and I'm horrified. I don't want to show the video. Yeah, let's leave it at this. So this is horrifying. This exactly reminds me of, and we talked about this backstage, this exactly reminds me of brown shirt agitation, basically between 28 and 35, right? Back in Germany, where outside agencies were intentionally aggravating radicalized individuals, radicalized groups were being intentionally aggravated into committing unbelievably atrocious acts, and we don't see them because these were events that happened in Germany 80 years ago, so there's not really a whole lot of record, but this is what's happening. So a government that is our government being this close to a high degree of instability, because we've agreed that he's at the bottom of his pack of qualified people to shuffle around and move into their cabinet positions. The government is in a position of high instability, and the next thing that happens is down on the street level, people themselves become embroiled. So this is the beginning of the period of anarchy.
That's anarchy, and you see it in all Western countries.
Yeah.
And what I can relate to, don't forget, if they do that, maybe we will talk about the phenomenon of the drone over New Jersey.
Right.
Yesterday, again, Ukraine attacked Russia with a Scalp and Storm Shadow on Rostov-on-Don. And yesterday, Putin made a declaration. He said, "Okay, I will challenge NATO to a duel. We will shoot an Oreshnik on a region that will be agreed by both parties, NATO and Russia, and NATO can try to stop it with their anti-missile air defense." And it's like you go back in 19th century when an officer will slap your in your face with a glove and ask you for a duel. And he said it. He said it explicitly like this. This is, and when you see this, you see that the tension is rising.
Yeah.
And that will have an effect. And now we have what we call interior crisis.
Yeah.
But it hides that they are not only dysfunctional, they are dangerous.
Yeah.
Those people are dangerous for our country.
Yeah.
Tim, that's a statement. You can quote me on that.
Yeah. The gauntlet slap, that's what Trump did to Trudeau.
We have a different word for what he did.
Exactly.
Wow.
No, but Timothy is right. And you know, Trump is joking, but he's not joking.
That's
he
correct.
will take office in 30 days now.
Yeah.
And he will be stuck with a total international mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they continue to fuel the fire. Yeah. Because they cannot do anything else. They did it for 15 years.
I have a question for Tim. How do you get from it's still Canada is still a stable country. How do you get from here?
Is it?
But I mean, like relative to what Nazi Germany was, like how would you get from here to there in a way that people can relate to that?
Canada has had car violence incidences resulting in bodily harm in recent history. And almost all of them were related to externally sourced people. Probably, I can't even say it the right way. All of them were people who were brought to this country from other countries, and they've all agitated, and they've all agitated against citizens, and they've done it on purpose. And the police do absolutely sweet fuck all. Pardon my French.
The police now is a Praetorian Guard. It is not the police anymore.
That's correct. They're there to protect the rule of law. They're not there to protect the citizen.
Exactly.
Right. And the rule of law has been bent to protect those who write the rules, because they're the ones, right? What's the rule? What's the golden rule? Them with the gold makes the rules. Right. And so having over the period of the COVID mandates and that madness, forced more and more of the population to become reliant on the government dole, which Andre and I talked about last night. More and more reliant on the government dole, you become less and less capable of saying no.
Let me clarify my question, because
you've been doing that a lot this episode.
Yeah. I'm trying to be more specific. So before we started, I gave an example of a horrific violation, brutal attack by the Nazis. But like the Nazis would dismember people, they would stab them, they would strangle them, cut off body parts. We're not seeing that. What we're seeing in England is, sorry,
we're seeing that in Ukraine, and we're part of it. Don't think that we are innocent with the regime in Ukraine.
So maybe for now, philosophically, we've outsourced the violence. That's right. For now, right? For now, we've outsourced it, because why wouldn't I use another country as the test for my experiment before I bring it home?
Well, that's a good argument, but if you outsource the violence or you outsource the risk all the time, one day it will come back. Think about South Africa.
Yes.
It was during the Boer War in South Africa. Great Britain was outsourcing the violence through colonies, and it's backlash very hard because they try to keep the democracy in, let's say, in England, and they affect colonies. They try to put adventurers and people in there for whatever, for speculation, for merchant commerce and everything. And one day they cannot do it anymore because the center is imploding. And this is, we saw it in South Africa, and we can go back to Rome. But the idea is that when you outsource the violence because you want to make yourself believe that you live in under the rule of law, that you are a democracy, one day it doesn't work, and it comes back very fast. You look at the Canadian dollar now. The Canadian dollar is starting to fall down very rapidly because first of all, we have 1.3, 1.4 trillion dollar of debt.
Yeah.
And it will, the market crashed 2 days ago, 5%. It doesn't crash. It goes down 5%. It picks up 2%. What is important is the volatility. Do you see the volatility? When it is volatile like this, you understand that people don't trust the system at all. Why the Bitcoin went up over $100,000 per one Bitcoin? It's because the system the trust is gone. Right. Trust is gone. The structure of the institution are good, but there's no trust in them.
That's right.
And we see it in when you start to look at all the events and you start to link the dots, people don't want to see it because they don't have knowledge or historical background, and they don't analyze. You present them an event, and then you cut it with a commercial entertainment, and you have another event. And on internet, it's even worse because sometimes you have 3, 4, 5 small windows that will pop up, and you cannot absorb this level of information. So you're stuck, and you cannot unite the dots, and you cannot see the big picture. Most people, they don't see the big picture, globally or internationally.
Yeah, there's in my mind, I have a picture of the Einsteinian gravity well. So we talk about centralization, and I think that there's a parallel because as you increase the mass of centralization, the sphere becomes more dense, heavier, and then you see the surface of the gravity well being pulled down deeper, and it enlarges. And as it is pulled down deeper and its effect is enlarged, right? What do you call it? The area of effect, the event horizon, right? The event horizon begins to form even before it collapses.
It's a black
event horizon is an area of effect. So here we are in Canada or in NATO pushing an area of effect out to a particular edge of this gravity well, and the gravity well is the EU or the UN or right. These organizations. In Canada locally, then the gravity well is Ottawa. The gravity well is Ottawa, and it's pushing influence out to the provinces. So in your mind's eye, you see this mat, the surface of the gravity well, small ones rise up around and begin to revolve around it. I mean, it's very much a space-time kind of picture, but slowly it's not that it falls in, it's that the well in the area of effect increases so much that it pulls everything down naturally, and before you know it, you've got a black hole, that type of phenomena, right? I'm only drawing a comic picture in order to create a degree of relevance, but the more we centralize, the deeper the hole, the deeper the hole. And so at some point in time, and I'm not a fan of current black hole,
physics concept
theories or the concept, but that's not the point. The point is the idea, the mechanics of such a thing is an interesting allegory for what we're experiencing in our geopolitics today. And that is when something becomes so dense, immobile, right? It's so restricted from its own mass, right? Its own presence, that it does nothing but continue to weigh down the surface of the society on which it rests. There you go. That's the right. So the mat of space-time is this culture itself, the civilization itself, just is pulled down and pulled down and pulled down. So the question is, does that surface rip and tear? Right? In which case, an outlier rises and begins to become the new center, because that's usually how civilizations will work, right? So is that the case? Or are we at a point where this is a big one and it will be a long time to recover?
You refer to the black hole. I will refer to the 19th century empire. What happened 2 weeks ago when Trump published on Truth Social the fact that Canada could become the 51st state, and we talked about it. Erdogan made a declaration about Syria. And he said Russia will have to understand their position. We do not, everybody knows that Erdogan is aiming to rebuild the Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
We could say that Russia's trying to defend is civilization. I would not go and say that Russia would want to re-establish the Russian Empire. But if we go back to 19th century and we reshuffle the border or the political alliance, Canada and United States, and we have Europe. Europe is in very bad shape. Some geopolitical analysts says that the European Union will collapse within the 6 months. Imagine if it collapses. Imagine if it collapses. And somebody said,
"Hang on, I got $5."
Somebody said, "Okay, now they will implement a pipeline for the gas in the northern Syria to connect it with Turkish Stream and to supply European Union." And some people said, "Okay, Erdogan will screw Russia." The funny part said, "Oh, Russia, I don't know, maybe it's you who said that." Said because Erdogan wants to join the European Union. No, Erdogan wants to dominate the European Union. If they have a minding of an empire minding, they do not stop. They continue because their agenda is global. Then what would be the outcome or the impact in Canada? Now everybody's fighting to see if Canada could be annexed by United States, and now suddenly people say, "Oh, it would be a good idea. We would be more strong." And you see the nationalists in Quebec, in Alberta. We talked about it last week. So I think in the mind of people, they're changing. Their mind are changing as fast as the events are unfolding. And when I see this, I tell myself, what we see now, the border, the actual border, and all it's a symptom of the destruction of international order. We were talking about it backstage. The international order based on rule. It was the rule of the West, and the words are from Hillary Clinton. Pay to play. You have to pay to play. Don't forget, Gaddafi paid. Saddam Hussein paid. Now it is Bashar al-Assad.
Right.
And Bashar al-Assad now is in Russia, but still Syria is starting to be invaded by ISIS. ISIS that now is a democratic institution. My God, they were cutting throats of people. And we don't want to see it here in Canada. We do not want to see it because, like you said, Timothy, we outsource the violence. Yeah. We all know that ISIS or Al-Qaeda were created by the CIA. So we all know that. All the geopolitical analysts in the United States talk about it. Larry Johnson, Scott, they all know it. But we still don't want to see it. And at a local basis, people don't want to see it because they don't understand what is happening. And I admit it is difficult to have a good opinion about what is happening now because events are changing. I was just following the crisis in Syria, and even the most skilled analysts, they are still not sure what really happened. They speculate or they have a lot of inside information, but it's still not clear for them. You can imagine when you look at that from a simple citizen, it's difficult. And there's so much disinformation, fake news that sometimes you say, wait, I will step back. I will not give my opinion because, first of all, I don't have an opinion on that. It's difficult.
Yeah.
So my feeling is that what is the crisis that is happening in Canada, it's a result of maybe 50 to 70 years of this old order based on international rules that will collapse. Now you see the Security Council, 5 members. Nobody, Russia goes there and they say, we will defend our territory till the end. So when you see the change in the tone of Putin, when he says, okay, I will challenge NATO to a duel, Putin is a moderate man. You can, if you watch Russian politics, you understand that behind him you have a lot of patriots. You have a lot of neoliberal. They control a lot of the economy. They're destroying the interior economy with the 22% prime rate for the Central Bank of Russia. You have two type of country. You have the outside type, which is the politic of Putin in Ukraine and facing NATO, and you have the inside interior politics. And there are a lot of problems in Russia, and it is the same here. This is a global crisis. If we look at it from a global perspective, we do not see the reshuffling of the cabinet. We see it's a symptom of a system that is completely sick. How it will unfold, I think nobody knows. At least me, I don't know.
Well, this is our 10th or 11th episode. We do one a week. 2.5 months ago, would we think we were airing what we've aired today?
I think it started out with elections in BC.
Right? So we started out talking about the elections in British Columbia back in October, September.
Exactly.
Right? And for us, it was regular hijinks in a quasi-Marxist democratic system, which is, basically hockey night in Canada. But now, I mean, that vehicle massacre.
But don't forget, Timothy, when we do a panel like this, we say it is a Cerberus at the Improv. Of course, we improvise a lot but we also all week long. Payman does a lot of interviews. He does a lot of research. You do the same thing. I do the same thing. So, of course, we evolve fast. And it is difficult for a citizen that does not do this type of work to understand where it's going, especially now we're 5 days before Christmas. Yeah. What do you think people are doing? They're preparing for Christmas. They're preparing to celebrate with their families and friends. And they try to forget the demise of the country. And maybe I would say, yes, disconnect yourself from this because it's a freak show. Yeah. And the Prime Minister of Canada is it's not even respectful anymore. It's not even funny anymore.
Yeah.
And
we want to have a little joke. We want to enjoy a little bit of our Stephen Leacock flavor. We want to have some fun and make fun of the Leafs and the Canadians, but this is dark.
It's dark
and dads should be like lifting up their welding visors, looking at their watch, going 20th. Okay, I still have 4 days. Right, to go shopping. Right, like we should be going back to we should be enjoying the traditional, stereotypical North American,
at least yes,
right.
But the poverty is very high now, and the country is in very bad shape.
Yeah,
and it is not funny. It is not funny at all. So we have to shake ourselves and try to, first of all, try to be rational in a time of they call it time of trouble.
Yeah,
we referred to that yesterday.
Yeah.
So
that concludes our show, folks. Merry Christmas, peace on earth.
So we're close to being on the 1 hour mark. I don't know. I'm not really one for speeches. Do we want to end it on a positive note? It is Christmas.
Yes,
I think the positive note can, in spite of this darkness, and we didn't want to go dark, but in spite of the darkness.
You kind of went dark when you put baby Jesus in the oven, man.
But
Brown, not
payment,
dark.
you are
Brown, not dark. Brown.
payment, you are
More
right.
more like burnt sienna, right? So, right?
Payment, you are right.
Family, friends, co-workers, neighbors, take care of each other. Do your best to elevate each other. If what's going on in your politics troubles you, you call your MLA and say, we need to talk. You call your MP, say, we need to talk. You call your mayor, say, we need to talk. Because if you don't, your voice will never be heard, because they're out there chasing you for your ex, and that's all they want. So you go out there and make your voice heard politically, become engaged. Other than that, family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, do your best to elevate each other. That's the way through this.
Good stuff, Andre.
Well, I think I agree with Tim, and I would say, we have to suffer to elevate ourselves. And I don't say to people, don't be misogynist. I say, try to see the light in 2025. First of all, the more we see problems like this, the more we will open our eyes. The more we will have to face reality. And I say, if we stick together, if we have solidarity between Canadians, and if we stop antagonizing other people, like many politicians do, if we stop that, and if we start to, I would say, disconnect a little bit from not only mainstream media, but the information, the amount of information is so huge that people, they are confused. So I say, celebrate Christmas. Try to maybe reunite with the spirit of Christmas, not the commercial part of it. Right. Try to be more modest. It's not only a question of money, it's a question of values. And like Timothy said, helping each other, thinking about each other. If we do that, we will set the bar very high for politicians. We will give them a message. We do not want this demise. We want something new. And if you're not giving it to us, we will do it. I think the people will do it. They have the knowledge, the wisdom, and I would say the generosity to do it. Now the political class wants to destroy this structure, this solidarity between people. And I say, do not bend down, stay united, especially at Christmas.
I have a short little story that relates to lifting up your neighbor. Is when we lived on the North Coast in Newfoundland, I was about 8 years old. We'd rented a house from my aunt's ex-husband's mother. Welcome to the 70s, right? So it was the winter of 77 or 76 or 77. And so we had this big house and this large property that backed onto the woods. And right next to us was a little old lady, a widower who'd lived alone in that house for many years. And she had a very large and long front yard. And so the driveway for her was like 200 feet long. And the big heavy snow, I think it was 77, came. And when the snow finally stopped, my dad said, we're going to go over and we're going to shovel her driveway. And I'm 8 years old. She doesn't even have a car. That's not the point, right? What if she needs somebody and they need to get to her and they can't because there's 4 feet of snow and a 200-foot, right? And said, we're just going to go do that. And it probably took 2 hours. And that's with my dad and me with the stupid plastic shovel because I'm 8 years old. What do I know, right? And we went and did that. And I have no idea what happened after us doing that, because when we're done, we just went home, right? So we have no idea. So maybe her son was now able to drive and go visit her and bring her, check on her and see how she was doing and whatnot. But the idea is to do something kind for somebody that is not transactional.
Exactly.
Right? The term I use is with no expectation of recompense. Right? And that is the kind of thing that will elevate and strengthen us. Not to mention, the emotional value of doing something like that.
Not expecting something when you give something. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's difficult in our time, but it is possible. It is possible.
I guess from Tim, Andre, myself, wishing you a Cerberus at the Improv Merry Christmas and hopefully Happy New Year and better times ahead in 2025.
That's right. Three-headed dog at the gates of Hades says Merry Christmas.
Exactly. Merry Christmas to everybody.
All right. Bye, everyone. Bye, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye. Merry Christmas to you.